Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Humanhood series brought to you by your host, Casey Riley. And
Melanie Peralta.
Humanhood is a conversation devoted to humanizing your human experience and making personal development more personal. And today we're getting personal.
Per usual.
Per usual, we are talking about money and finances and saving and budgeting and investing. And personally, this is a topic that I am really passionate about.
That makes one of us.
And that's the thing. Some people are really comfortable with this conversation and topic, and other people, there's a lot of like shame and like, I don't really know how to feel about this.
It's just like ignorance.
Yes.
That's what's like, I don't like to talk about things that I don't know a lot about. So that's why I avoid these conversations.
Exactly. And that's why we thought it was really important to have a really neutral, grounded, and educated voice joining us for this conversation. So everyone, please help us welcome my personal financial advisor and strategist, Brian McCormick.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Welcome, Brian.
Well,
so happy to have you.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
So why don't you just formally introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you actually do out in this world?
Yeah, so I'm Brian McCormick. First and foremost, a dad, a husband, girl dad. And what I do is I just align people's, I guess you'd say, financial actions with their goals, right? So everyone talks about the strategies, the investing. What we need to make clear is what are we trying to accomplish? And so let's get the values, the vision down first, and then just attach that to everything else that we can use to fund that. So really simply, I just have conversations with people and try to get them in the right direction to be where they want to be at the end of the day.
And that's exactly what you did for me and Brian, my Brian, by the way. We've been working with you now for, I think, close to 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like COVID.
Yes,
Yeah, for
during
sure.
that time. And I just have to say, I am so grateful for you. I am so grateful you came into our life, and you came into our life at the time that you did. Because I always say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And with the way that Brian and I are evolving and changing in our businesses and our finances, I'm just so happy we had a foundation and someone like a third party to check in with as we started to expand our lifestyle and our businesses in this way. And you have been someone we have quarterly meetings with, and you advise us on what to do. But most importantly, like you said, you helped us just get clear on what is your goal.
Yeah.
You know, like him and I are both pretty decent when it comes to managing money, but before we met you, we didn't have an end goal. We didn't even know what an end goal was. You just kind of think like retirement is out into the ether and we're young and like it's never gonna happen to us. And you're like, well, you guys are 30, you gotta get serious. And so you really sat us down and said, what's your lifestyle like? What do you want your lifestyle to be when you're 60 years old? How long do you actually want to work for? And how can we put you on a plan to achieve that goal?
Yeah.
And you have been so helpful. So
I appreciate
thank you.
that.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I am just really curious on how you got into this. Like, what makes you passionate about helping people with their finances and money?
So into it by accident for sure, and I'll explain that. But it was kind of one of those things I had no idea I'd ever be a financial advisor. So like I grew up in Homestead, Florida. You only know that if you know NASCAR. Used to be where the championship race was. Now Phoenix stole it. But anyways, besides the point, all blue collar. Like no one in my neighborhood was an attorney or a doctor or anything like that. You know, my dad is a stonemason. My mom usually would work as like a secretary for like a law firm, right? And then just everyone on my street, like blue collar, business, middle class. And my plan was not even to go to college. Like I went to a high school that had a lot of trades involved in it. And so I was like, okay, I was doing OJT. So I would go to school for 3 classes and then I'd actually go work construction. And I was like, oh yeah, life's good, right? Yeah. Easy life. I wasn't going to go to college, got a phone call, had no offers to play football. And then I got one and I was like, well, you know, like if I'm going to go for free, I'm going to go for free. So I did go to college, moved all the way out to the West Coast from Florida. And, you know, I think for better, I was home one, I guess not weekend, but like it was like New Year's Eve, right on break. I got hit by a drunk driver.
Oh.
and was done playing football after that, traumatic brain injury. And so I went through this just period of like really lost, really depressed, like your identity's gone of like, you know, you're what, 19, 20 years old. You're like, I'm a football player, right?
Oh, man.
And I was sitting on the couch with my buddy Zachary Gangler playing Nintendo 64 Super Smash Brothers. Yeah.
We were just talking about
Yeah, it was best game of all time. If anybody wants to work, like we can make it
If
happen.
anybody wants to smoke, call Brian.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, and he's like, hey, I'm doing this internship. It's financial planning. And I'll be honest, he was like, they pay you $100 a week. And I was like,
I'm in.
$100 a week? Like, I'll be there, right? So,
I'm in, motherfucker.
like, yeah. Count me there, dude. You know how much $100 is on a Friday in
Yes.
college?
Yeah.
Oh my
we
gosh,
talked
like,
about this in another episode. Like back then, the amount that we were given, we were like, "Oh, this is so
do it.
much money."
Yeah, my
do
rent
it.
was $250.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, anyways. And so didn't go, like, I wish I don't actually wish, but like, I don't have the story of like, this is what I wanted to do. What happened is I got into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, you know, being in construction in South Florida, you see a lot of things happen on the emotional side of money, filing bankruptcies, like losing homes, like all that was kind of my like reality when I was a kid in South Florida watching our family go through it. And I was like, oh, I could really help people. And I would say like every year that I did it, I just got more and more passionate about helping people. And now I love it. Now, you know, we're 10 years in now, which is crazy. A decade has gone by.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I get to help really great people. And I wish someone would have just picked up the phone and like called my dad or called my mom in like 2006, right? And did that. So that's kind of the backstory of how I ended up as a financial advisor. Thank you, Zach, for suggesting it. And then, you know, it's kind of addicting. Like once you have clients have success stories, like earlier on, it was like just like someone paying down debt. I remember one of my first clients, Dana, like I was 21, right? Like no money, like, and she had like $8,000 of credit card debt, and we helped her pay it down. And I just remember like that was my first big win as a financial planner, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story. I did
Yeah.
not know any of that.
Yeah, I don't tend to share a ton with the everyone about it, like especially like the TBI thing. I really share that very limitedly because honestly, it's still like I still don't like talking about it. You know, like
Well, thank you for sharing that.
yeah,
with us.
you think about like the what ifs and stuff, and it's like better not to. You know?
Well, it's interesting because I had a head injury 7 years ago, and that flipped my life upside down
Really?
and put me into the place of seeking out breath work and wanting to feel better because I was so anxious and depressed at the time.
Yeah.
And so when you said that, I was like, I totally hear exactly what you're saying when your identity is just completely stripped from you at a young age.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, as young adults, I don't think we're very equipped to handle emotions, right?
No.
Like it's tough. So.
Okay, one thing you said and one thing you've pointed out a lot in our conversations is the emotional piece of money.
Yeah.
Like what I love about you is you always ask me like, how are you feeling, Casey? How are you feeling now that, you know, Brian has started his own firm and things are looking differently? You always ask how I'm doing, and I really, really appreciate that.
She did mention that before.
I
She
did.
mention
I
that.
did. I was like, I actually felt like you cared about my well-being and my emotional process throughout all of this, and I just wasn't really expecting that from you.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to elaborate a little bit more on some of like how emotions come into play, because I think it's easy to say we're working with a financial advisor and everything's going to be easy and great.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to actually face your finances and see what you have available and maybe the mess you've gotten yourself into, and when it comes time to transferring money from your savings account to another account and like saying bye to it even though it's still yours, there's a lot of emotion that goes into that.
Yeah.
And so please just elaborate on your thoughts on that.
Yeah. It's probably the number one blockage that most people have. And it doesn't matter if it's a big sum of money or as simple as like starting a budget. And I think sometimes as advisors, we do this every day. So we talk a lot about like numbers, but really if you're not comfortable with anything, like not just financial planning, but if you're not comfortable with anything, you're not going to see it through. Like if I'm going to the gym and I'm not comfortable with that gym or the person training me, like I'm going to avoid it and go away. And so like in finance, if you're not emotionally, I guess, grounded, you'll just have avoidance behavior, right? So if you look at, okay, and this is maybe a generality, but like why do people not start? It's just because they're anxious, right? They don't want to face it. And then also, like, I want to make sure that we're always checking in on emotions, because usually, like, couples have two different, like, completely. I've been on calls where one spouse is crying, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's like, hey, we have two completely different views on how we do this. So it's like, I see myself as, you know, money's a huge reason why people get divorced.
Yeah.
I come from a divorced household. It's like, hey, if I'm not checking in on either spouse and making sure that this is not spouse A or spouse B's vision, but it's a joint vision, like I'm not doing my job, mm-hmm. right? And so I really believe emotions everything. Like it is the number one thing. If we're not emotionally all in on the game plan financially, it's not going to be accomplished, right? Yeah. And it's definitely the hardest part. Like especially as people accumulate more, they get more emotional. As they get closer hitting a goal, they get more emotional, more scared. And that's a lot of my job is the numbers are easy. Yeah. I'd plug it into a software. I'll let you know where you need to go. Yeah. It's the how do we emotionally get this person ready to do what they need to do, either anxiety or just bringing someone back down to planet Earth, right? Like
I can relate to that so much, and I feel like that's where I'm at. So I'm gonna get personal and share with you guys. So I was in a really great financial place. Like, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, I was in a relationship for 6 years. I was very intentional about investing. I had built up a decent portfolio with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and I was doing well, and I felt really confident in it, and I was consistent in it. I was like investing regularly, and I had a decent amount that I was like really proud of and like was sitting pretty on, you know? And then my relationship took a turn, and I decided to help my partner build a business. And with that, I took on all of the financial responsibility of our lives for the most part. And it was just so stressful and so draining, and I got to the point where I was dipping into my investments and pulling money out, and I was like, it's fine, you know, this business is going to thrive, it's going to do well, and once that money comes back in, then we'll just like reinvest it. And you know, in my mind, I'm like, it's okay if I'm pulling this money out to use it for our livelihood right now and taking care of our family, because this amount of money is on its way and we'll be able to work with that.
Yeah.
And that didn't end up happening because that season of our life ruined our relationship. Wow. And long story short, by the end of the separation and all of these things, I was pretty much down to zero with the investment that I had spent years putting together that I was so proud of. And then on top of that, like I was in depression and I was heartbroken. So then I'm like, I'm like, I'm not in a good financial place now. This person didn't leave me any of the money that came in. It was like really high and dry type of situation. And it just fucked me up, Brian. It did. Yeah. It fucked me up, man. And ever since then, I have avoided investing again. I have. And it's not because I don't want to, but it's just because that situation was just so hard and so scary, and there was just so many aspects to it, and putting so much in and then losing it all. And, you know, it was just like, I'm like, I'm just gonna just keep putting my money away, but I haven't been thinking strategically about it. And me personally, I'm good with my money. I'm not really a spender. Like I can save, put money away, and I'm very minimal with my purchases and things like that. So I am in a space where I'm able to invest, but I'm in the emotional blockage because of what I went through.
Is it almost like it just reminds you of the past?
Yeah, but it's just I can feel that there's been like an avoidance there. And I think to a degree there's just like a fear of losing it all again or something like that. You know, like I haven't really dove into it a lot. This conversation's definitely going to inspire me to like dig deeper into what the blockages really are. But I like to keep it simple, it feels just like plain avoidance. Like that was so uncomfortable. I don't even want to think about that again. Like that's just not where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
But it's like, it doesn't matter if that's where you're at. That's where you need to be. So
Yeah.
it's what you need to do, you know? So it just feels like I've been avoidant of diving back into that world and re-educating because since then things have changed so much in even the crypto world. So I'm like, well, now I'd have to go back in and do all my research to figure out what I want to reinvest into, and the prices that I invested into back then definitely aren't the prices of Bitcoin now. So there's just all of these things, you know, and I'm like, I don't even want to do that, is what it's been feeling like.
Yeah.
So even for me personally, I know that I need to start somewhere that can feel easeful for me and not overwhelming, because when I think about the process that I went through in doing all of my investments back then, it was a lot, but I was on fire about it. I was excited about it. You know, I was in a different place, and now I'm like, okay, let's like tiptoe back into this world, but where do I even re-begin at this point?
Yeah, and it's like what you mentioned, it's like some things are just unavoidable, right? It's like I would never tell someone to not invest in their partner's business if you believe in it. Just some things that you got to give yourself grace for. It's like, hey, shit happens, right? But the other side of it is like, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like, hey, start small, right? And it doesn't need to be in this overly complex, comprehensive investment strategy. It could be as simple as like, hey, I'm just going to save $100 into a savings account, right? And then build and build and build. But no, it's definitely tough to go through that. Unfortunately, we see, like, we have a lot of clients get divorced, and it's always, you know, tough to see when people in businesses together, and it's a scary thing, you know?
Yeah.
So
can you talk about, Melanie mentioned specifically she was investing in crypto and kind of doing that yourself, probably through an app, right?
I was using Kraken.
Okay, so but you were doing it yourself?
Yeah, I was doing it myself.
So one thing that Brian does for us, at least, and what a financial advisor can do, and I'm curious if you can speak to this at all, is we don't invest in crypto with you. We invest kind of in the broad stock market, right?
Yeah.
And so he kind of, like, we give him the funds, and then he goes and puts it into all these different things in the market. So it's not necessarily like us doing it ourselves and like managing it and researching it. He's educating us and then suggesting what we should put into it, and then he kind of plugs it into different areas. Is that how that works?
Yeah, and like it goes to philosophy. You'll have a few different philosophies among financial advisors. One is like, we can pick certain stocks to outperform the market, and you know, we're really, really smart, and we're going to be able to pick Apple or Google or whatever at the right time. That's one philosophy. The other philosophy is it's known as like passive investing, right? Where we are simply buying index funds, we're buying things that track the market and saying, hey, the market's going to do what the market's going to do. Let's solve for how much money do you need to put in, right? So really high level, like where we sit as advisors, our team is, you know, we believe in passive investing. You know, it's statistically, like one statistic is only 1% of fund managers have beat the index. The index is what the market actually does over a 20-year period. And it's like, hey, I'm smart, not that smart, probably not the 1%. And for the masses, if you just look at it statistically, it's much more impactful to know how much you need to save, you know, what's the time horizon for your goal, what's your tax situation going to be when you go take these dollars out, and just play the law of big numbers.
Yeah.
You know, stock market does what the stock market does. Be super diversified. But I'm not saying the other approach is wrong. You just have to have an advisor that has a philosophy, has a strong belief, right? When I think about this, it's like it really to an extent, like very much to an extent, it really doesn't matter what you invest in. It matters that you save enough money to get that goal. Like if you're with an advisor and they get 10% and our team gets 7%, that's really not relevant. What's relevant is, did we put enough money away to reach the goal, right? So yeah, it's, you know, a certain level of education, right? We've been working together for 5 years. We try, I hope we're good at like educating folks on it. But the main thing is like, you need to find someone you're comfortable with who takes an educational approach, who it's like, hey, I know what we're doing. We have a philosophy. We believe in that philosophy. And it takes time. Like I would guess maybe asking you, like I'm sure you didn't feel like 100% comfortable with me in the first year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, honestly,
like,
I've just now felt really comfortable and in our flow. And I even felt some of those, like, those in action. I felt that within me. You're like, okay, transfer me X amount. I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I want to see it in my account. You know, it's like, it's still yours. It's just going to a different account.
Right.
And so I even felt those, like, limiting blockages as well, where it's like, okay, well, this is bringing up some fear within me for whatever reason. And then the more you do it and the more you see your portfolio growing and the more you find safety in it, it's like, okay, I can settle into this. And then the more education, because I'm just now really, like, you just said all that. I'm like, I actually get it. I did not get that 5 years ago. I'm like, this is making no sense. And so one takeaway I just want to have for the listeners is there are a few different ways to invest. You can invest on your own with like a crypto as an example through an app that you can do, or you can have a professional helping you, guiding you, and investing it on your behalf. Yeah. And what I loved about you was I asked about crypto because I was interested in it, and you said, we're not going to do that with our portfolio, but feel free to go ahead and explore that with the app that you want to play with. And I have been, and I'm like, this is kind of fun. Yeah. But I'm not doing that all myself. Like, I would rather have support from someone who's an expert in this area to make those larger decisions. So if anyone was listening to that and they're like, okay, well, I'm confused. Do I do this on my own or hire someone? Both are an option, and I recommend exploring both options.
Yeah, and I honestly think the value of a financial advisor is far more on the behavioral science, the planning. There is, like, when investment management comes into, like, being valuable is really when you go through really tough times, when the market's down, and you need to have someone that you trust that says, like, hey, like, selling out of these investments when they're at the bottom is the worst thing you could do. Mm-hmm. Like, the amount of people during 2020, March, 08, right, or I guess 09, that, like, the sky's falling, I got to get out now, right, I got to put it in cash. Most detrimental thing that they probably could have done. Mm-hmm. So like the real value of a financial advisor is, I think, the emotional management. Like,
it is.
If you use a robo advisor, you do it yourself, you invest with us, that's fine. It's the emotional management that's going to make, in my opinion, that's going to make the difference, you know?
Question. How accessible are financial advisors? Because I feel like when we have these types of conversations, some people, they're not even thinking that a financial advisor is as important as having a fitness trainer.
Nutritionist.
A nutritionist, or like you have a nail tech that you go to regularly and you give money to them. You know what I mean? So I think, like, for the average person, they're not even thinking or knowing, should I have a financial advisor as just like being a regular human on this planet? Is that for the wealthy? Yeah. Is that for people who have a lot of money and they know what to do with it? Because one of the things that we were talking about before we started filming was there's a lot of people out there who, unless they feel like they have a lot of money to invest, investing isn't even on their mind. They're not thinking about being able to put away $50, $100, a few $100s a month. They're like, oh, well, when I get my taxes, or if I get in a car accident and I get this money back, then once I get, my 10 grand, then I'll put away 500 or 5,000 or whatever. So I guess my question is, for the average person who doesn't have a ton of money to go in and invest, how do they even, is it smart for them to go and work with a financial advisor? Can they afford that?
Yeah.
You know?
I think somebody said accessible.
Okay.
And if we're being real, like very high quality financial advisors probably aren't as accessible.
Right.
I think back to when I started my career, right? I was 21, 22 years old. There's a lot of people I worked with then that are still our clients that, we did start off saving $50 a month. So I think access is a huge issue in the financial planning world. And unfortunately what happens is that kind of leads way for kind of some more like, I guess, malicious practices of like kind of some of these groups that aren't really financial advisors taking advantage of people and stuff. But, one thing, I'm passionate about financial literacy, just kind of coming from my background. I think it's important. There's a lot of great financial content out there. As far as cost, like different financial advisors are different. Some are going to charge you an hourly rate or a flat fee, like, hey, pay me $500, I'll do this financial plan for you. And yeah, maybe that's really tough. Some work off of commission, which isn't bad or good. You just need to know like kind of where things are coming from. And then others will just charge a fee on the money they manage. So if we look at one side of the ball, it's not as accessible maybe as it should be. But in terms of cost, there are young advisors out there, and we have some on our team that are building out their business underneath us. And we have one that's actually an employee of our team that, yeah, they could help. It's tough, right? It's just not as accessible because dollars and cents, right? Which is unfortunate,
Can you talk about finding the right advisor? I know, just like you mentioned, you kind of fell into this.
Yeah.
I feel like, honestly, I'm going to call your industry out a little bit. I feel like a lot of people are stepping into this financial advisory role just because they're hearing about it or their friend is one and they're like, you should do this. And for me, I'm like, I don't want a new bass telling me what to do with my money. I want someone trusted. And I feel like when we met you were still kind of in the newer phase.
Yeah, like 5 years in, yeah.
But you had a mentor who was on those first couple
Shout out to Aaron.
Yes, first couple of calls with us where he was in the calls, and that created a little bit of safety for me.
Little gray hair.
Yes, for choosing.
Been there, done that.
Exactly. Exactly. So can you speak to, if someone's feeling motivated and excited to go find someone, like, out of your heart of hearts, like, what makes a good financial advisor, even if they are newer to this space? Like, what should they be looking for?
That's a good question. So, like, first thing that I would look for, if I were on the other side of the ball, right? First thing I would look for, you could, like, Google, is this person actually a financial advisor, right? There's a lot of people that sell financial products that are not licensed to be giving that advice, right? So you can go to FINRA, which is a regulatory body, like they regulate something called broker-dealers, right? You can go to the SEC. You look up, is this person's licensed, right? Do they have a license to be giving an advice?
So if you don't have a license, you can still call yourself a financial advisor?
Not legally, but they do.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like, if you have, there's so many financial, actually, I kind of got to watch what I say because I don't know, like, the rules of what you can and can't call yourself.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what I would look at. Like, hey, and then the other thing is, like, is there an institution behind this? Right? Without mentioning, like, our institution, like, we're with one of the fourth largest institutions, right?
Yeah.
And the first largest institution when it comes to, like, where our investments actually sit, right? So you got to look at that. And then at the end of the day, I think it's all on feel. Like, you could tell, I mean, granted, some people are great at bullshitting, but, like, you can tell if someone's in it for you or them, right? If someone comes in and they're just, like, clearly trying to, like, push a certain direction of, like, a product or a strategy, that would, for me, be a red flag. Like, if we sat down, had a conversation, and it's just, like, 2 seconds, hey, check out this great product. If it's more of like, hey, let me get to know you, let me understand what we're doing, let's come out with an actual plan, and then the products are all kind of secondary. If I was a consumer, that's what I would look for. And that's what I look for, like, when I buy services as well, right? Like, what am I getting here, right? Is this in alignment with my goals? above and beyond that, I would say really just do your research on that individual. Like the FINRA, the SEC websites, they will tell you if that any complaints against them. If you can't find them, that means they're not licensed, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that would be a big step. But there's right now with social media, there's kind of like more of an epidemic of like, I mean, there's great people out there giving good advice where they're not licensed because it's just easier for them not to be licensed, kind of more of the influencer space.
Right.
There's a lot of other people selling products and it's selling things and that are not in alignment with you actually being financially successful. I know that's broad, but
No, that's a great
trying to not get a cease and desist set over here.
Yeah.
You know.
No,
So.
that's a great answer, and it leads me to the next point that I want to talk to, which is in our space. And I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but we're in the personal development space,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of coaches and just a lot of these different influencers, right, or like gurus on different topics. And one topic that I see so much is like an abundance coach.
Yes.
Abundance mindset, abundance coach, which I fully agree that energetics is a major piece.
Oh yeah.
But the thing that I don't see at all is the reality,
Practical.
the practical, like money management. What do you do? Like all we're being told is like abundance, get these 10, 20K months, la la la. And then it's like, well, what are you actually doing with the money?
Yeah.
Right? Like the practical savings. Like, is your overhead 20K a month? Or like, what are you actually like nutting here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I would like for you to touch on a little bit of the abundance mindset while staying rooted in the reality of now that you have this money, like practical tools and tips of like being responsible with it. Because it's not all just about gaining it. It's what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there I come across like two different abundance mindsets, right? There's the one that I'm like, I don't get it, where it's like I can do nothing, no plan. I'm gonna sit here and manifest it and like 50 grand's gonna show up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like we all know people like that, like it, and I love them, but it's like I'm thinking of
Disclaimer,
someone.
I
but,
love them.
I love them, but like I have a buddy, he's awesome. He always has a new business idea in like no plan, just like.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is gonna work. I'm gonna manifest it. I'm like, well, what are you gonna do? Do you sit there on the couch, like play your, and I meditate and stuff too, but what's going on, right?
Play your handpan while you meditate.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you got to do something,
Yeah.
right? And then there's people like that. I have a friend, mentor, like informal. I just look up to him, and he's like same age. He's like, I believe I'm this person. Even though he might not be there yet, but then he's like acting the way that person would act, and he's like putting a plan in place, and he's like, I got this, right? And so I think you just have to be real with yourself. Nothing good comes without discipline and hard work, and you have to have money discipline. There's plenty of people that make a ton of money that are extremely financially unhealthy. And so I think it just comes back to being honest with you. Great, you're abundant. You made $20,000. Let's have a really hard conversation. It's $20,000 what you needed to make? Did you need to make 50? Like, I work with a ton of people with variable income, and a lot of people are stuck in this vicious cycle of credit card debt, credit card debt, credit card debt. Sell a really big commercial property or close a deal, pay it all off, and then they're at like zero, and then credit card debt, credit card debt, credit card debt. And there's ways around it, but it all starts with the emotion of like, okay, I'm honest. I'm not waiting on this next big deal to go through, or I'm not waiting on this abundance mindset of everything's going to work out. Which if you believe it will, I think it will.
Yeah.
But you also have to take some actions to make that a reality, you know?
So, okay, what are my options then? Like say someone has a launch and they make the 20 grand or the 10 grand or whatever. What are the options that people have, or like the most basic fundamental places that they can look into to put some of that money away?
Yeah. Is it okay if I just go through like what I do personally?
Yeah.
So I get paid 4 times a year, basically.
Okay.
Right. And so what I learned early on, because like I struggled with credit card debt too. Like starting off your business, hiring employees, like, it's scary. And when you have a employee not work out, that's even worse, right? And so what you need to do, like, what do I need to live off of, right? Is it $5,000 a month? Is it $10,000 a month? 20? All right, how much of that is essential? Like, if it's $20,000 a month, like, what do you really need, right? So what I do is all our money goes into an operating account, and then out of that operating account, I pay myself a salary. So that salary comes out, pays me. At the end of the quarter, I look and I'm like, okay, what goes to taxes? What goes to luxuries? So like the best thing a self-employed person can do is put themselves on a salary. Good money management. Pay yourself like an employee. And then just like an employer would pay like a salesperson or anyone in business development, give yourself a quarterly bonus, but don't give yourself a bonus on something you haven't made, right? So every dollar has a job description. You could save those dollars. Those dollars can go to essentials. Those dollars can go to fun. There's nowhere else it can go. And you just need to figure out what is really essential, what is really fun, and then what needs to go to future me. Because all you're doing, we're not saving and investing. We're not buying crypto or buying stocks. We are paying our future self. That's all we're doing is we're writing a little paycheck for something that we want to do in the future. So for me, like, early on, like the way that it happened is we did have to like kind of get our revenue to a certain point. And then finally, I was just like, okay, like we're just going to do this, kind of cut expenses for a few months while we figure it out. But there's other ways that you could do it. Like if you're a more established business, you can get a business line of credit. I would only really think about doing that if you are established, you have revenue, it's pretty predictable. Hey, I've done 200, 300,000 of revenue the last 3-4 years. Not a lot's going to change. But that's the best thing you do. Just pay yourself step one, get a budget or get like Rocket Money or some app that tracks what you're spending. Sit down with an advisor, with your spouse, with a friend who's going to call you out and be like, all right, is this really an essential or is this a luxury?
Yeah. Okay, what about the everyday person who's not an entrepreneur? What about the everyday, single mom who works a corporate job and barely makes enough to pay all her bills, but can spare $100 a month to put somewhere? What are her options?
Smaller sooner is better than larger later, right? Without going into...
Wait, say that again.
Smaller sooner, better than larger later.
All right, listen to that, okay? Take that one to the bank because I know y'all are getting all your lashes done and your nails done and you're going to brunch and you have $100 extra that could be going somewhere useful.
Yep. And so I would make it systematic. So, like, don't try to save... Most Americans cannot... They're spenders first. They spend the money. So if you're on the mindset, I'm going to save what's left over every month, statistically, that's just not going to work out, right? So create a system where it's like, hey, I get paid on the 15th and the 30th, right? So on the 15th, $50 is coming out. And if you work for a larger company, or maybe not even larger, but like, I know like if your payroll is through like a big payroll provider, you could actually set it up where like part of your paycheck goes somewhere else. You never see it.
Yeah.
Which is a big reason why most Americans have money in 401ks. It's not anything about the 401k. It's simply because that money goes there before you get paid.
Right.
Right. That's why it's that. So if I was, and I want to say that's a very valid thing. Like, inflation is real. I've seen affordability. Like I think back to when I first started, if someone was making $60,000, we could sit down with that person and like I just think of like the savings we did for those people. Like, they save $300 to $500 a month. I don't think that's even remotely possible today with rent.
Yeah.
Like, my wife, her name's Corey. You know Corey, but I remember when she went to GCU, 3-bedroom apartment was like $700 or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I was talking to someone who is actually one of the coaches at GCU, and they're talking about campus housing, and they're like, yeah. I was like, well, why don't they go live there? They're like, that was like $1,600. I was like, whoa, crazy. So it's definitely a real thing, but what you do is create it systematically, and then just slowly have increases. All right, I did it for 3 months. You might not think it's a big amount. Can I add $5 for this? Okay, add another 10. And I would say like usually do small increments, because psychologically, if you do a big one and then you can't do it anymore, you're probably not going to go back to saving.
Right.
Right. So I don't know if that's helpful, but
It is, but a step further, like, where do they go to Chase Bank and put it in a savings? Do they go, like we hear a lot about different like Roth IRAs and all these different. I think a big problem is most people don't even know the different options that they have of where they can place even a small amount at a time.
Yeah, it depends on like kind of their goals. So
Okay.
like first thing, general rule of thumb for the masses is you generally don't want to go invest money that you're going to use in the short term. Why? Because investing has risks and it can go down. Right. It also has potential for gain and it can go up. But, if you need those dollars in the next few years, you probably don't want to risk that. And then you just have to, if you're really simply just going through kind of like a decision matrix, like when do I want access to this money? Well, if I'm really ready for putting money away for retirement, a lot of those accounts you mentioned, 401ks, Roth IRAs, generally, because there are exceptions to everything, but generally you're not going to be able to access those dollars without penalties until you're 59 and a half, right? So working with an advisor, I know we talked about the accessibility, right?
Yeah.
If you can't find an advisor, I'm pretty sure you can walk into like some of these banks and say, hey, like, what should I do, right? There's a lot of good tools out there. If you go to like some of the larger financial institutions, just like websites and stuff like that, and look at, hey, what is a Roth IRA? But generally speaking, it should just be based on when do you need those dollars? What's your tolerance for risk, right? And at the end of the day, is in alignment with your goals, right? So if I'm John Smith, I'm 31, I got some money, I say, hey, I want to save for retirement. Yeah, I should probably be looking at accounts that are specifically designated for retirement. If I'm Sally and I'm trying to buy a house, I probably just need to look at a savings account. Mm-hmm. But the one thing they'll kind of hit on is most people, the hard part is just saving, right? Getting there. So if we're giving super blanketed advice, you can't go wrong with just saving money in a savings account. Get that habit, get 3 to 6 months built up, get your little war chest before ever putting a dollar into an investment. Make sure that if, you're put in a bad situation, you can be taken care of and go from there, really. Which one thing I will say, like kind of like a basic thing out. We talk a lot about investing, but one thing that gets really missed is just proper planning. Like the amount of people that have kids, that are married, single moms that don't have like a life insurance policy, which can be like $9, $10, like something like that, or the amount of people that have kids that don't have a will and trust, it is very, very high. I don't have a statistic.
Oh my God, talk about that, because I don't have a will and trust and I have a kid. Yeah,
so a will and trust is just you giving direction to how you want your assets to be distributed. If your kid's not of legal age, they can't inherit money. So if you don't have one, the state of Arizona or whatever state you live in is going to dictate what happens to your assets, right? So just think about an estate plan, and I'm not an estate planning attorney. I know some great ones, right? But an estate plan is just I'm writing out what I want to happen to my assets when I pass away, right? And a trust is an entity. It's like a business, right? A trust will typically have its own tax identification number that can inherit money for underage children. And you can get really, really fancy with them, or they can be nice, clean, and simple.
And you recommend people creating something like that, even if like I don't have land or a ton of assets or anything like that to hand over to my son yet. So if I were to make one now, then I wouldn't necessarily be able to say, oh yeah, give Kai the property or Yeah. So what about like doing it now if there's not necessarily any major assets to give to him yet?
That's a great question. There's things unrelated to assets, like who do you want making medical decisions for you? You said your son's name's Kai?
Yeah.
Who do you want taking care of Kai? Right? There's things like that will go into that documentation that's so important, right?
It's like, whatever I own, just give it to him.
Yeah, exactly. But it's serious, like, unfortunately we have had clients pass away, and we've had clients pass away with good estate planning and improper estate planning, and it's never a good situation when a client passes away. But I would say, if you think about the people that are surviving you, especially family dynamics, it's so helpful to them to say, okay, this is what they wanted, right? Because if you don't, my family loves to fight. Like, I'm sure everyone, like, fight just to fight. Like, like.
We're learning a lot about your family. I like it.
Yeah, but, like, it's like they're going to fight over, especially, like, grandparents are going to be ready to scrap over who takes care of the kid, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, right? So.
Okay, I have a question for you, because we're kind of touching on it, because you mentioned, like, partners passing and things like that. So I feel like, again, another narrative that goes on in the personal development space is, like, should women be working, and should the men only be the ones providing, and all of this stuff.
Okay.
And I feel like there's a lot of people pushing the narrative that, men should be the sole providers, which I'm not against that.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, just from being
Oh,
a responsible human, women should know about their finances, should have a skill, God forbid something happen, that they can turn that into income, whether a divorce happens or a death happens or anything like that. And so I'm curious, like, your thought on that. And even, like, I don't know if you can go into examples or stories, but what are your thoughts on, like, women being, everyone should be responsible and empowered with their choices, especially if they're married, but more so of, like, should a woman be working out of just having that sense of security in the event something happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to touch on one thing first. Like, if you are married, the amount of times I hear, I handle all that, right? For, like, the men out there, like, if you want your wife to feel comfortable, how could she ever feel secure and comfortable if she doesn't know what's going on financially? Oh, she trusts me to handle that? Sure, right? But, like, really think about it. If you were to pass away and your wife has no idea the X's and the O's of the finances, that's horrible, right? As far as, like, working outside of the house, not working outside of the house, like, that's tough, right? There's a huge level of trust involved, right? Like, Corey, she stays home with our daughter, and that's the hardest job on earth.
Yeah.
Like, and I think everyone would agree to that.
Yeah.
And she is essentially trusting me that I am not going to go leave her high and dry after not working for a long period of time. Because if you try to enter the workforce, think about technology.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you try to enter the workforce 10 years later. So not giving relationship advice, but, like, I would say there's things that you can do. I don't know how well this would go over with people, but, like, post-nups, right?
What's a post-nup?
Opposite of a prenup, it's post-marriage.
Wow.
So, like, hey, I'm going to stay home with the kids, but, like, we're agreeing to, like, if you go leave me for whatever, purpose, like, I'm getting this much money a month, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So prenup is saying you ain't getting none of my money, and postnup is saying if this does, and then I will get something.
So there's the same agreement.
Okay.
Prenup is just prior to marriage, and postnup is just post-marriage.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean you're not getting any of the money. Like, I have plenty of clients that have prenuptial agreements, and a lot of it comes in when you have family wealth, right? People are there, and, like, the prenups will typically look like, hey, if there's a divorce, here's a predetermined amount of alimony that this person gets.
Oh, okay.
Here's a predetermined amount of child support, or it will say, here's how that's going to be calculated. And I'm not of the belief that, like, I know some people are like, oh, why would you get a prenup? Why would you get a postnup? I mean, transparently, we don't have one, but like, I don't think it's a bad thing,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I think from like society and like songs and stuff, the idea of prenup always means you're signing something means that you're not getting any of my money. That's what I thought it meant until now.
Yeah,
it
can be
mind,
designed.
Brian.
It's just an agreement. Yeah, it's a contract, a business contract, I guess. Like, and a lot of the times prenups are, designed to really protect both parties. Like, they're usually not like very one-sided. I mean, sometimes they probably are. Mm-hmm. But going back, it's a huge issue. Like, I think that like my personal beliefs, like, I think there's nothing more invaluable than having a parent staying home. Doesn't have to be the woman. Like one of my buddies, stay-at-home dad, girl dad, like doing a great job, right? I think there's a lot of value to that. Yeah. It's not always possible. Like it used to be very possible. Like I'll speak on my wife's parents. Her mom stayed home, and her dad is a very hardworking, blue-collar dude. That's kind of not the case right now, right? Yeah. It really isn't. Part of that is actually society in terms of our spending habits, and part of that is just things really are more expensive and wages aren't keeping up right now.
Yeah.
But it's a really tough topic. I see it a lot. Like, and it hurts me when I see someone completely in the dark on it. Yeah. Because it is a scary thing. And then as an advisor, like, if I have a conversation with someone, I always will really make sure that the other party's there. And 9 times out of 10, and it's usually the male has just met with the advisor, I know they're going to become our clients, because it's like, how could you like have a financial plan with one person completely? How are their goals heard? How do we know what's important to them?
Yeah.
Like, fun fact, you did ask me for some facts. I'm going to butcher it. But when women manage the finances, on average, you end up, I think it's like 30% wealthier.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hear that? Okay.
I could see that. I could see that.
Probably have less cool cars, though.
Yeah, we're on a budget, baby. No, I love that, though, because I feel like, I don't know, it's so hard to speak on relationships because every relationship dynamic is different, and everyone has their own upbringing and traumas and what they've seen out there. But I think for me, in my personal opinion, the biggest takeaway, if you are in a relationship, is to never be completely oblivious to your finances.
Yeah.
Right.
Because anything can happen. It doesn't have to be necessarily bad. Like, he left you. Like, what if a disability happens? What if something just unfortunate happens? Like, can the woman step in and know what's going on?
Yeah. I think it's just about being a responsible human, is knowing what to do with one of the most important things on the planet.
It is, yeah.
It's just like knowing how to take care of your body, is knowing how to utilize the resource that funds your life.
Exactly. Yeah, money's one of those things. We always talk about how we should know just as much about our bodies and health in school as we learn about our ABCs and math and all of these things.
History. And
I feel like money is one of those things that we should know just as much about.
Right.
Yeah.
But we got to seek out and find people to educate and like understand what options are available and how we can be responsible with this. Otherwise, it's just going to take you on a ride and then you're effed.
Yeah. Education system needs some reform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's why, like, my high school, very blue collar, like a lot of issues with like retention, I guess, people making it. But those issues got a lot worse when they took out, like, they used to have a direct line to become a firefighter, become like a welder, become like all these jobs. They took that out. And now, like, like even algebra, like, I'm like dissing on algebra. Like, you ever use algebra?
No.
Not saying it's not important. Like, it does teach you how to think.
But also depending on, like, what field you're in, because, like, everyone has a specialty. And if you're, like, sitting here trying to do math and it's not your thing, you could have been over there being really, really amazing at literature if you didn't have to take math.
And, like, everyone needs to take, like,
a basic
algebra is
standard.
important, right?
Calculus,
you need engineers.
who knows?
We need the people that design stuff. But I'm just saying, like, the amount of classes that I took in high school that are like transferable to real life skills that are going to help us make money. And like maybe they do they even have a class on like how to be a good human, or like how to like
right,
I don't know, right?
Humaning
This is the
101.
class.
Yeah,
This is
like,
the class.
don't be a dick
Yes.
101.
Yes, no kidding. But just before we wrap up, I want to speak on that because my high school did have a finance class.
Yeah.
And I took it for 2 years, and that was the class that got cut.
Yeah, all the good ones.
I was like, that class, I still remember things and apply things from that class. Like, we talked about the 10 to 20% automated rule. So I started working at 16, and I was like, every paycheck that comes in, that's just going, because that teacher taught me that, and I just held on to that simple message that he shared. And then they're like, cut the fucking class. I'm like, this is the only thing we should know about.
Yeah.
We were playing the rat race game, like how to not get stuck in the rat race.
Yeah.
You know, the financial rat race. And we actually learned like practical tools. And I'm so grateful for that class, but they cut it.
Too useful.
Yes, we were getting too smart.
Exactly.
But anywho, Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Having me.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Are there any last words you want to share? Or if you were like talking to your future daughter at 25 years old, like what would you tell her?
Oh, wow. I'd have to really think about that. What would I tell her? Just about money in general?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I really don't have a good answer. Like, one, my daughter's growing up way too fast. I hate it. I would tell her maybe more on the relationship side of the ball. Like, just make sure whoever you get married to, you guys have an open relationship with money. And then, like, she's not going to take my advice. Like, you know, she's very independent. But, you know, I'd just be like, hey, try to automate your savings. Try to make sure that you're saving 20% of your income. And go from there, you know. But yeah, kids grow up way too fast, so like don't want to think about 25.
I have a 10-year-old, so I get it. So as you being a resource right now, you're everybody's resource who's listening. So if people are listening to this and they're like, oh my God, I need a financial advisor, I actually would like to get in touch with Brian, how can they reach you?
Yeah, so like super cool thing that we just got compliantly approved today with our marketing team and stuff, which if you know anything about the finance industry, compliance is like, it's hard to get things done. But we're doing a webinar series. It's going to be 5 webinars a month. Nice. Hopefully starting in February, might get pushed back to March. They can just contact me. I have like a form on my website, just brian.mccormick@nm.com. I think I'll be tagged in these videos.
You will.
And then we have a team. So like myself, Francisco, Bijan, Ashley, we're hopefully going to get a few more advisors in the mix. So, you know, might be myself helping, might be one of those people helping, but, you know, you can post my number as long as someone doesn't dox me, right? Is that what it's called? Is it doxing somebody? Or
I think it's just
like
prank
spam?
calling.
I think we already get, oh my God, I get spam
Is your
calls. That's another
refrigerator
thing.
running?
Yeah, right? Like, oh my goodness. So.
Okay. All right. We will definitely be tagging Brian. Again, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you so much, Brian.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course.
Really fun.
Until next time, you guys. Bye.